Hello, welcome back. You're with me, Charlene Thompson, on the Sales Ops Effect. And here is a quick mini episode to talk through what happens when you get things wrong. And in fact, I'm going to leave that random sound that's just come from my phone for no reason because I thought it was Do Not Disturb, because it's poignant. Because sometimes things go wrong and it's about how we recover. So there's been a few things that happened. And like I said, my phone wanted to chime in just because it felt like it is one of them. So let me see. I'll give you a few things that have happened recently. A couple of weeks ago, I set up my podcast roughly a week or two in advance, and I'd set up an episode that was supposed to go out on, I think it was, what would it have been, 28th of January. And for whatever reason, I did it for the week after. So I had no idea that the podcast didn't go out because I've never messed that up before. This podcast has been on for over 2 years now, and I've never messed up the dates. Not one time, but it happened. And I did not notice until, I was scheduling the next ones and I realized that there was already one in that place. So all of my social media snippets and things like that had already gone out about it, but it just hadn't gone out. Now, what do we do? Do we sit there and get really, really annoyed? I got a little bit annoyed. But what am I going to do? Nobody's bleeding as a result of it. I probably misread the dates because I was busy and tired anyway. So you kind of just have to take a deep breath and move on. What did I do in that moment? I scheduled it. I was working on a Sunday, so I just scheduled it to go out that lunchtime because what was the point of waiting? I wasn't going to let it take the place of the podcast that was supposed to come out on that actual Tuesday because this always comes out on a Tuesday. So I let it go out. I haven't looked at the numbers to see if it's been affected or not. It is what it is. It just happens. I could have sat there and I could have let it eat at me, but is there really any time for that? How about, we just try to sort it out and move on? And even then, more sounds coming from my computer where it hardly ever happens, but whatever. This seems to be what it is. And then what else happened as well? I just did a two-person episode for the podcast, which isn't going to come out until 1st of April, I believe. But I was talking in that podcast about the event that I'm running on the 27th of February, which is CRM for beginners. So it's for business owners, small business owners, to figure out what CRM they should be using and how they should be using it, because I'm not affiliated with any one particular CRM. It's about the fact that one needs to be used in order to make things more efficient. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's on the 27th of February. Why am I mentioning all this? Because I mentioned the 27th of February live online event on an episode that's coming out on the 1st of April. That's really annoying. I am a person who I regularly forget to mention whatever it is that I'm promoting during these episodes, because these are more conversational, educational. I'm not trying to sell as I'm talking here. I'm just not in that headspace. And when I am selling, it's more conversational anyway. So it just doesn't flow naturally into my brain to say, "Oh yeah, there's this thing coming. You want to come join?" So I end up just putting it in the show notes so people don't know when I'm on live, or when I'm going to be at a networking event. But I messed up that episode and I'm going to have to cut that out now. And I hardly ever edit stuff inside the episode, but I'm now going to have to go in and cut that bit out or just record over the top of it because I messed it up. I knew I wouldn't be releasing the episode for another, 2 months now? Yes, 2 months, because it's not coming out in March, because I'm recording this in February. And yet my brain is just like, you need to mention the event because you keep forgetting to mention the event. So I mentioned it, and that was the wrong place to mention it. And literally that was the reason why I decided to do this episode about getting things wrong, because a few things have just happened this week and it's just like, I can't be the only person. But for anybody else who's having one of those weeks where they end up want to slap their forehead because just like, would you just please work with me, brain? You're not the only one. People get things wrong all the flipping time. It's like when you make spelling mistakes about really obvious words. One big thing that happened years and years and years and years ago now, was when I was trying to I wasn't being nosy, but I was putting myself in a position that I should not have been in. I was trying to be the stand-in for marketing when I had no business being the stand-in for marketing to that level. But there was no marketing person available, and the salespeople were crying. Um, because they needed help. They needed this mass email to go out. And there had been an update on the CRM system that we were using that meant that if you went down one route, it would behave in a certain way. And if you went down another route, it would behave exactly like completely different. And I didn't know this. But how I was working it would seem like it was completely logical. Did I do a test? No. Don't be like me. Test on these things. I was so ridiculously confident with the system that at that time, and because everybody was rushing, I went over my own boundaries and just didn't do the test because shouting in my ear, and I regretted it because it went wrong. So it ended up going out to like 1,000 people when it was only supposed to go out to 250. And oh, it was embarrassing. And I felt so flipping bad. But I noticed it immediately, which was good because, you know, when something like that happens, it's so very tempting to just run away or freeze. But that is not how I handle it. It's not how I handle things when things go wrong. I deal with them as painful as it is, as much as my skin feels like as if it's burning. How I dealt with that was by sending another email. I sent an email to that whole the whole sales team so that they knew what had happened. Um, and I said I was going to fix it, and I told them how I was going to fix it, right? So that nobody was caught off guard if the phone started ringing. And then I went through and I sent another email apologizing to everybody who received the email accidentally, right? And then I also gave extra guidance to salespeople whose managers weren't around, because I think it happened over lunchtime as well, to basically say if there's some particularly important clients, you know, ideally it would be nice if you could call everyone, but your more priority clients, if you feel like this would have irked them in some way or whatever, if you want to add the extra vanilla, the extra touch of, you know, care, go ahead and call them and apologize again. So they would have received the written apology email and then that extra touch of a call. And, you know, with 1,000 people, I think we had maybe 2 people grumble and be like, just take me off your email list. But actually, we had at least 15 people who the salespeople reached out to who they hadn't been able to get a hold of for a while, but just genuinely laugh and then like arrange proper sales meetings, because they've also been in that position where they've messed up, and it kind of just broke up their day, you know. And I also personally received email replies that were all just like, you know what, it's perfectly fine, no worries. And even some actually saying, it's amazing that you even sent an email to apologize. Thank you so much. People don't usually do that. Now, I didn't get hundreds of those, but even, what did I get? 6 emails out of 1,000, you know? So the vast majority of people probably wouldn't have even realized they shouldn't have received the message. But the fact that there was a couple of grumblers, but most of the people who we did reach out to, or who reached out to us, were actually just pretty cool and pretty human about it, because it's a human thing to do. Everybody messes up. Everybody messes up. And it's so embarrassing. But I think the best way to deal with the mess ups is to own them. It's to be accountable. It's to figure out how to fix it and make amends and apologize. Is to do all of those things. You take the sting out of it by trying to heal the wound, essentially. And that sometimes means healing the wound whilst you're still bleeding. And it's much easier when the only thing you messed up is your own stuff. But when you're messing up on stuff and it's to do with other people, it can be so tempting to just run away, but it's not helpful. And also, because, you know, this might all seem all fairy tale like, but this what exactly happened. one of the sales managers I can remember came to me afterwards, and we never had a bad relationship, but she didn't like processes and rigor. Um, and so I was very much of the opinion of, well, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It's just that these are what the processes are, as has been agreed by both of our bosses. If you don't follow them, I ain't gonna shout at you, but this is what's gonna happen if you don't follow them. But I never actually had a problem with her. And she came up to me afterwards and she was just like, you know what, respect, because most people just would have pretended it was some other problem and would have just run away from it, but you didn't. And you just own it. So, yeah, fair enough. From someone who at that time I did not have a proper relationship with, but she could see that. She could see and again, frog in my throat right now. What's happening? I hardly ever have to pause a recording. But it happens. It happens. And I share all of this so that if you've been going through it or something has happened, I feel you. And it's okay. Please don't run away from it. Please own it. Please try to take accountability for yourself and try to amend as much as you can. And, apologize and mean it. Because if you're sorry, say you're sorry. It does actually go a long way. And it's not just because people will be very grateful afterwards. It's because it's the right thing to do. Everybody messes up, but trying to pretend like as if you don't have any flaws and nothing bad has ever happened isn't helpful. And I think it weighs on you. I know it would weigh on me anyway. So I hope this slightly unusual episode was helpful, and we'll be back to normal sales ops things sometime soon. But because this episode will be going out in the middle of February. Yes, and my stomach's rumbling as well, so I don't know if you could hear that. I'm probably going to leave it into the edit. I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to leave it in. I'm looking forward to hosting you on the 27th of February. It's at 4 p.m. CRM for beginners. We'll be talking through how to choose the right CRM, what to look out for. I am not affiliated with any one particular CRM, even though there's some that I like more than others. But it's about understanding the need for a CRM, and by CRM I mean client relationship management system. It's your piece of tech that holds all of your information, that all of your contact details, all of your opportunities or deals, the terminology around these things. What should you be looking out for? What are the things that you need to use depending on what your stage of business is? All of those kinds of questions, which are actually difficult to get answers to, because most people that talk about it are talking about it from a position of being directly affiliated with a particular CRM, and I'm not. I'm affiliated with myself, and I'm here for the benefit of business owners who are wanting to make sure that their sales operations are efficient and effective. And so therefore I'm platform agnostic. So I'm very looking forward to answering all of your questions. And you can find a link to that event in the show notes. But if you have any questions about that, or if you'd also like to share an embarrassing thing that happened, a mistake that you made, and how you dealt with it and how it felt and how you got through it, I'd very much like to hear. I think it'd be helpful for myself and for other people who are also going through it and have maybe less experience of messing up at work. So thanks so much, and we'll be talking again soon.